Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are diving headfirst into the blistering physics, the devastating fall, and the absolutely remarkable comeback of Earth's most widespread raptor. We're talking, of course, about the amazing nature of the peregrine falcon. 242 miles per hour, or, about 389 kilometers an hour for our metric friends. Just let that staggeringly high number sink in for a second. That is the top recorded speed of the peregrine falcon, crowning it not just the fastest bird, but literally the fastest known animal on the entire planet. It's a figure that totally pushes the very limits of biology.
So how on earth do they hit those extreme speeds? Well, they execute this insane high-speed dive called a stoop. Picture this. They soar to a massive height, use gravity to their absolute advantage, and fold back their tail and wings to become as aerodynamic as a living missile. And they don't just gently grab their prey. No way. They strike it midair with a clenched foot to deliver a stunning and often lethal knockout blow.
Section 1. Anatomy of a hunter. Engineered for extreme speed.
Look, if an ordinary bird tried to pull off this kind of dive, they'd literally be torn apart by the sheer forces at play. But every single inch of the falcon is an aerodynamic marvel. First up, they've got anti-glare malar stripes, those iconic black cheek feathers that act like eye black on an athlete, absorbing sunlight so they never lose sight of a target. Next, imagine trying to take a deep breath out the window of a car doing 200 miles per hour. The air pressure would totally wreck your lungs. But the falcon has these tiny bony baffles called nostril tubercles that guide that powerful airflow away, letting them breathe effortlessly. To protect their eyes, they have nictitating membranes, which are basically third eyelids acting like built-in windshield wipers. And finally, get this, they have a flicker fusion frequency of 129 Hz. That means their visual processing is so unbelievably fast, it's like they're viewing the world in ultra slow motion compared to us.
Now, to actually uncover the secrets of this crazy flight, scientists had to get incredibly creative. We're talking a team of researchers in Germany who actually trained falcons to dive off a dam along a predictable path just so they could film them with high-speed cameras. Then they took all that data, built life-sized 3D plastic models of the falcons in their max-speed dive posture, and threw them into wind tunnels using oil painting flow visualization alongside laser-illuminated tracer particles. It's serious high-tech stuff.
And what that high-speed footage and wind tunnel data revealed is just mind-blowing. Tiny feathers literally pop up during the dive in key locations on the bird's body. These feathers keep the air flowing smoothly, drastically reducing drag. They work exactly like the mechanical flaps on an airplane wing. Honestly, nature was out here engineering aerospace technology millions of years before humans even existed.
Which brings us to Section 2, the brink of extinction, how the invincible fell.
So you really have to wonder, how did a predator engineered for such absolute dominance nearly vanish from the skies back in the mid-20th century? Well, the antagonist was microscopic compared to the mighty falcon. It was chlorinated hydrocarbon pesticides, most notably DDT. This pesticide caused deadly bioaccumulation. The falcons would eat smaller birds that had gobbled up contaminated insects, and the DDT would just concentrate to highly toxic levels right within the falcon's fat tissues.
But the real gut punch here wasn't just adult birds dying off, it was reproductive failure. This chemical contamination caused devastating eggshell thinning. When the adult falcons sat on their eggs to incubate them, the shells would literally just crush under their weight. This meant drastically fewer eggs ever survived to hatch, which basically completely halted their reproductive success across vast chunks of North America and Europe.
Tracking how this played out chronologically, by 1970 things were so incredibly dire that the American and Arctic subspecies were slapped right onto the endangered species list. But then, a monumental shift happened. Thanks to the 1972 DDT ban in the US and Canada, combined with some intense, highly coordinated captive breeding efforts, the falcon bounced back. The Arctic peregrine came off the endangered list in 1994, and the American peregrine was officially delisted in 1999. It is, without a doubt, one of the greatest, most successful comebacks in biological history.
However, actually, scratch that idea that we can just declare victory and walk away. Long-term studies in places like Rankin Inlet in Nunavut show we have to stay super vigilant. Researchers up there discovered that reproductive success has sometimes declined recently, despite the lower pesticide loads. This points to a totally new threat, likely driven by shifting local weather patterns and broader climate change messing with the Arctic environment.
Moving right along to Section 3. Kings of the concrete jungle, the urban apex predator.
Now, as the species recovered globally, many populations pulled off this truly genius ecological pivot. They moved from their historic wild river canyons and cliff faces straight into our densely populated cities. And if you think about it, our modern cities are essentially artificial cliffs, right? Towering skyscraper window ledges, massive bridges, old cathedrals, they perfectly mimic the falcon's natural nesting habitats, offering high vantage points, safety from ground predators, and the perfect launching pads for those high-speed stoops.
And the data totally backs up just how incredibly well they've adapted. A large-scale study in Great Britain directly compared urban and rural falcons, and it revealed something pretty surprising. Urban birds actually produce more fledglings and enjoy a higher overall nesting success than the ones out in the countryside. Sure, rural falcons get a higher diversity of prey species, but the sheer volume of food in the city, it tips the scales entirely in favor of the urban birds.
Basically, our cities provide an all-you-can-eat urban buffet. There's this crazy high prey density, mostly made up of feral pigeons and doves. But it gets even cooler. Artificial city lights are actually giving these birds an evolutionary hunting advantage. The glow of the city extends their hunting hours well into the dusk and night, which lets these apex predators easily spot and take down abundant nocturnal migratory birds, like starlings and woodcocks. They turned our light pollution into a tactical advantage.
So, as we wrap up this explainer on the amazing nature of the peregrine falcon, I want to leave you with a fascinating thought to ponder the next time you're walking downtown and look up at a skyscraper. As humanity continues to build upward and outward, are our expanding concrete jungles accidentally creating the perfect predator-free sanctuary and a limitless buffet for the world's fastest animal?